When it comes to pricing bundles, I think the logic that you want to use is to start with the value of each cut. So even if you don't sell by the cut, you're going to want to formulate pricing for individual cuts from some retail channel. So you can look at your farmers market prices or your farm store prices, or like I said before, if you don't have a price like that for the cut, take the time to develop those prices, those retail prices, because you're going to want to know how to value each piece that you put into a bundle. And then you just start assembling those cuts into bundles using up all your pounds and all your cuts. And then finally, I think you'd offer a discount, a small discount above full retail value because it is bulk sales. Um, when you're going to use our new tool, which I'm about to demonstrate, it's called Bundle Builder. In order to use it, you'd have to gather some data before you went in there. And I'll show you that when I do the demo, but you're going to want to gather the data on all the cuts that you want to use for bundle building. Maybe that's all from one animal. Maybe that's another selection of cuts that you're like backlogged on if you're normally selling by the cut. Um, you'll need to know the quantities that you've got on hand. You can work in pounds or you can work in the number of packages that you have. In either case, whether you work in pounds or packs, you'll need to know the average package size, even if that's something you just know in the back of your head. You're going to have to know, like, typically a pack of sirloin steaks, from our farm is 1 3/4 pounds. Well, you're going to want to know that. Then you're going to need to know your retail price, or like I said, your retail value if you're not already retailing by the cut. Think about who your target consumer is and then set out to build bundles. When building bundles, I would think about having specific price points in mind. I mean, that's just one opinion. You might have certain pound targets in mind, but I would tend to think about the customer is going to think about the dollars that they're spending. So I would build bundles in certain dollar amounts and make that my target when I started working with Bundle Builder. All right, so I'm going to hop over off the slides and go into the tool to demonstrate. Um, for those of you that are not familiar, this is MeatSuite. MeatSuite serves several different functions, um, but mainly in New York and North Carolina, it's a directory of bulk meat products that people are selling direct to consumer. So a consumer can come here, again, just in New York and North Carolina, enter their zip code and find farms near them that are selling bulk meat. So MeatSuite has a variety of tools, but what you'll want to do is go to the tab that says for farmers and processors. And in order to see Bundle Builder, you need to create an account. So you can see here when I'm not logged in, I can't see a link to use the Bundle Builder tool. There's other great resources here. Perhaps I should take a moment and say what they are. We have a meat processor directory that's very new. It's just in New York and North Carolina also. Still building it out, but eventually you'll be able to put your zip code in and look for meat processors near you in those two states. We have the meat price calculator that helps you set prices for carcasses or cuts. Highly recommend using that tool, and there are recorded instructions and webinars on that link if you click it. We also have price reports. So if you're setting those values for your retail cuts in order to use Bundle Builder, you can reference New York Farmers Market price report that we create once a month, and you can look at our grocery store price reports that we do once a month. We also have some sample cut sheets, and we have this publication called Creating Consumer-Friendly Bulk, which is a lot of what I'm talking about tonight. But to use Bundle Builder, you'll need to create an account. It's free to do, and like I said, this is a Cornell resource. So it's a Cornell University extension resource. I'm going to go ahead and just log into my account really fast. All right, now when I'm logged in, you can see that Bundle Builder appears as an option. So I'll click that, and this tool is brand new. It's only been live on the website for maybe about a month at this point. We do have some videos, which are essentially this talk that I'm giving recorded and cut up into pieces. So when you go to use Bundle Builder, if you want a refresher, you could click this button here and go watch those videos. Otherwise, to start using Bundle Builder, the first step is actually down here at the bottom, which is your product lists. To make bundles, you need a list of products. So that's the first step. You can add a new product list, but I'm just going to show you an example of a product list I already created to save time. So what you have to do is enter the name of the cut that you have, the number of pounds that you have, or if you like, the number of packages that you have. Again, like I said, you'll need to know the average package size, either situation, and then the price per pound for that cut. That's the way that you're going to value it when you use it in a bundle. So even if you're not using a price list because you don't normally sell by the cut, you'll have to assign values. And so you can see the ones that I've already entered as an example. Don't use these prices as reference, they're too low, but just get this idea. I've got ground beef, I have 188 pounds valued at $5 a pound. Like I said, I know that's too low, it's an old list. But yeah, you'll end up with this product list. Once you've got your product list complete, you can return to the dashboard. Now you're ready to start a bundle build. And I guess I should say, you can have several product lists. So you could have a pork, if you're a multi-species farm, pork product list and a beef product list. You can have, lots of different ones. If you are using the Cornell Meat Price Calculator, you can actually import a list that you've already completed from the price calculator tool. And once you hit this button and select the one you want, it'll appear right here. All right, so you've got your product lists. Now you want to begin a bundle build. So this green button says start a new bundle build. You're going to name it. Name it in a way that you're going to remember what it is. And then you have to select the product lists that you want to use while using the bundle builder. So I'm going to use my Thursday night farmers market beef product list. And it asks, are you going to work in pounds or packages? I'm going to work in pounds. And now I can create this bundle build. So here we are in the bundle build. And I have to set up some bundles, right? So I'm going to create some bundles. I'm going to call this one the family, there it is, the family budget bundle. Add that bundle. And how many do I want to create of those? I want to create 4 family bundles out of this list. I can make another bundle. I'm going to call that one the foodie bundle, right? Add that. How many of those do I want to sell? This is all, you can change this on the fly, but I'm going to say I want to sell 4 of those. I'm going to make a small foodie. Oh, I called it a seniors pack. Add that. I want to make 5 of those, and you can make as many bundles as you need. I'm going to make one more that I like to do. It's called the user upper. So I'm going to stick all the cuts that didn't fit anywhere else into the user upper bundles, and I'm going to make 3 of those. All right, so now I've set up the bundles that I want to use, and I'm going to start working with my different cuts of meat to push them up into the bundles. So all the cuts are shaded in gray right now because I haven't begun to work with them. But if I click on one, it appears, and I can assign pounds into each bundle. So remember, we've got, for the family budget bundle, we've got 4, or I'm going to do the foodie. For the foodie bundle, I've got 4 of those. So every time I'm going to add 2 pounds per bundle. It uses up 8 pounds because there's going to be 4 of these to sell. I hope that's clear. I'm going to put 2 pounds of sirloin steak into each foodie bundle. And since I intend to sell 4 of those, now I've used up 8 of my 28 pounds of sirloin. Right, so that's how it works. And you're just going to work through your different cuts, assigning them out into your bundles. And the idea is to try to work all of your cuts down close to 0. It's never going to be absolutely precise because we know packages of meat vary in weight, as you go through different sections of the muscle and they get cut up. Some steaks will be heavier, some will be smaller. You're going to want to know your basic, your average package weight, and think about, units that you can include. Does it make sense to include 2 pounds of sirloin, or do I need to make that 2.5, and so on? And just keep working at your bundles. I'm going to jump now to one that I've already worked on, just to save a little time. So here's my bundle that I've worked on, and you can see I've got lots of cuts assigned into these various bundles. all of the meat cuts that are shaded in black now are ones that I've begun to work with, but I still have some pounds left to use. The ones that are shaded in green are the ones where I've used up the exact number of pounds. I had 28 pounds of sirloin steaks, and I have assigned and used up 28 pounds. The ones that are shaded in red is warning you, you've actually claimed to distribute more pounds into these bundles than you really have. Let's look at the brisket example. All right, I've used up 12 pounds in those various packages up above, but I really only had 11. Well, you're going to have to be knowledgeable about what's in your freezer, what comes off a typical animal. The other thing is when you create these bundles, you're going to describe them to the consumer using a range. So you're not going to guarantee that there'll be exactly 3 pounds of brisket in the foodie bundle. You're going to want to give them a range like this bundle contains between 2.5 and 3.5 pounds of brisket. All right. And that gives you that leeway. So you can go over budget, so to speak, on some cuts, as long as you're familiar with the package sizes and you describe it but using a range when you describe it to the customer. So I've used through all my cuts, right? I've got them all assigned out. I've got 5 family budget bundles. I've got 4 foodie bundles, 5 user uppers, and 3 small foodies. Now I'm going to set the prices, and I've done this once before, but here you can see it's telling you the total retail value of the family budget bundle as it stands is $204. So if you click the green button, you'll have a chance to set the price that you'd like to use. So you can just type in a lower price. If I say maybe if it's really worth 204, I'll enter 199.99, right? So that's going to tell you you're giving the customer a 2% discount, a very small discount, and it's actually costing you just $4 to sell all this meat at once, right? That's your cost of your discount. So you have to debate if that's a good price, if it makes sense for you. If you want to offer customers a flat percent, you can just type that percentage in and it will tell you the price that you need to use for the bundle. In this case, if you want to offer 10% off full retail because they're buying a bundle, then you should offer it at 183.60. So round that up to 184 or 185, right? So you can use that to set the price. And then your bundle work is complete. Save your work, close out of here. I just want to show you when you work on those and you come back out to all the different bundle builds that you've created, you also can print PDFs. So you can choose to print out a list. It'll pop up in just a moment. There it is. The family budget bundle that I just created. I'm going to sell it to my customers for $183.60. Its total retail value is $204, and I'm giving a 10% discount. And then you can use this kind of like a pick list, right? So if somebody orders this bundle, you can take this sheet and know that you've got to go grab 12 pounds of ground beef, you've got to grab 2 pounds of sirloin steaks, and so on. Use that as your pick list. I don't recommend necessarily printing this out and giving it or showing it to customers. Really, it's just for you to use as a placeholder. All right, so I'm going to switch back to my slides. Allie, I see you popped up. Is there? No? Okay, just popping up. All right. All right, so we just went over how to use the bundle builder. And again, those videos are saved right on that site. So when it's time for you to build bundles, you can go back and check it out. Work through these steps. When it comes to those discounts, I don't think you have to give huge discounts below that full retail value. Hopefully you've got your retail pricing tuned in. Like I said, you can look at our price reports that are on MeatSuite. You can use the meat price calculator to calculate prices for cuts and make sure you're hitting your financial goals. But you don't have to give huge discounts when you're selling in bulk for a few reasons. Bulk bundles do take less marketing effort than sales by the cut, but they take more than the work of selling, quarters and halves and wholes. So they fall somewhere in the middle. So because they take less marketing effort than sales by the cut, that's why you can offer some discount compared to those prices. But do remember that bundles offer convenience and simplicity to your consumer. So understanding your consumer, designing a product that's easy for them to buy provides value, and you can charge for that, right? This is easy and great way for them just to solve meat buying and still buy from a farm and still buy in bulk. Another reason why you don't have to offer very large discounts is because bundles make it really difficult to compare prices. They can't, necessarily whip out a calculator and start trying to figure out what the size of the discount is. It makes it difficult because you've kind of disguised all your prices for individual cuts in that one single price. Therefore, prices should be discounted below full retail. However, it's not necessary to offer huge discounts. And when I say, the bundles make comparing prices to cuts difficult, I'm thinking about Omaha Steaks, right? You can't ever look at two different bundles on Omaha Steaks and figure out their pricing methods. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to talk more about Omaha Steaks in a moment. Just a reminder, when you use Bundle Builder, you first need to create a product list, which means you need to have a list of all the cuts that you want to use to build bundles out of. It doesn't have to be all the cuts from a single carcass, but if you want to, sell all your meat through bundles and quarters, halves, and wholes, you'll need that list. You'll need to know the quantities that you've got and the prices that you value individual cuts at. And this can be a multi-species list. Then you create a new bundle build after you've made the product list. You decide if you're going to work in pounds or packs, whatever makes more sense to you. And then create and name your bundles. Those names aren't going out to the public. They're really for your reference as you think about. And then you start adding cuts to the bundles. So speaking of bundles and speaking of prices, I went and looked at the bundles that were for sale on Omaha Steaks. This was in March, so it's about a month ago. And here's what I found. Because I was just thinking about how it's so hard to compare two different packages from Omaha Steaks to each other to figure out which one's a better deal. This one has, that certain cut, but it doesn't have that. So you can't do these easy comparisons. And here are 4 examples of what I found when I went onto their website. The Winter Best Sellers Pack, the Value Freezer Filler, the All Protein Pack, and the Premier Assortment. Right, and you can see a list of the cuts and actually the exact ounces that they're going to have. This is not probably how you should sell bundles because you won't know the exact weights, but here's what they're offering. Let's just review the Value Freezer Filler really quickly. It's $189.99. It's on sale, but I think everything's always on sale there. So let's call it $190. You get 4 6-ounce bacon wrapped filet. You get 4 5-ounce sirloin steaks. You get 4 5-ounce chicken breasts, 4 6-ounce pork chops, and 4 6-ounce burgers. And then they're including some steak seasoning, a guarantee, and the free shipping. All right, so I couldn't help myself, and I wanted to dissect these bundles and figure out what you're really paying for the meat that's inside. So I made a few assumptions. When they said free shipping, I removed $15 from the price, assumed that was to pay for the shipping. So I removed that from all the bundles. The steak seasoning was 3 ounces. So I removed the 3 ounces from the weight that they tell you're going to get. And then some of the bundles had a dessert called caramel apple tartlet. I valued that at $12. I removed the weight of it from the total weight, and I moved $12 from the price if that was included. So I have an adjusted price on these 4 bundles based on those assumptions. And then I have the total pounds of meat that you would receive with them. And then I simply divide it. So when you buy the Value Freezer Filler, you're paying the average of $25 a pound across all pounds that you receive, which means you're getting you're paying $25 a pound for the filet and the sirloins, but you're also spending $25 a pound for your chicken breasts, your pork chops, and your burgers. Weighted average across all pounds in the package. And you're receiving 7 pounds of meat. And then you can see the assessment on the other ones. What was surprising to me is that the Value Freezer Filler is actually the most expensive price per pound. compared to the other ones. And the premier assortment, which I expected to be more expensive, was actually one of the lower priced ones. All right, so why am I doing this? Because then I looked at some bundles that farms are selling on MeatSuite, and I found 4 examples. And I did the same kind of math. So I looked at what they're charging and how many pounds that the customer receives. And in all these examples, our farms that are selling bundles on MeatSuite are charging on a weighted average across all pounds in the package, much lower prices than Omaha Steaks. In fact, dramatically lower, right? Because we were in the $20 to $25 range over there. And over here, we're in this like 650 up to 950 range. So we're charging a lot lower prices. I think there's room to charge more for these bundles when farms tune up their pricing. So Omaha Steaks is charging much higher prices than MeatSuite Farms. My question is their meat better? No, it's not. But I think it's a great example of how we started this talk off. Omaha Steaks understands their target consumer. They design products to suit them, and they make it incredibly easy to order and pay. So everything that we talked about at the top, you support your pricing with your marketing effort. And Omaha Steaks is a very successful example of applying this, right? It's easy to buy. There's no confusion. There's no difficulty. That you can sort through the products, in your pajamas on the couch and use your credit card to pay. They've designed products that they know are going to appeal, and they've taken time to understand their consumer. They're shipping a lot of meat that way, like I said, at much higher prices than our farms typically are. So use that as an example or sort of as proof that marketing effort really does work and helps support your prices. MeatSuite. We've already given you the web address. There's a lot going on in MeatSuite. If you'd like to, you could follow us on social media. If you're in New York or North Carolina, you can also tag us for some reposting, that kind of thing. And I just wanted to review, we have a lot of different resources and tools on MeatSuite. Most of them are free. All of them are free. Most of them are available to everyone. So the bulk meat product directory is limited to New York and North Carolina. However, the Cornell Meat Price Calculator, the resource creating consumer-friendly bulk meats, the bundle builder, our price reports, and the processor directory are all available to anyone that wants to use them. The only meat processors that'll be going on there are the ones that are in or around New York and North Carolina, but everyone's free to use that. That resource I mentioned is called Creating Consumer-Friendly Bulk Meats. It's a PDF that you can download from MeatSuite, and it's a lot of the content that I reviewed tonight, but you can check it out. It's about 4 pages long, easy to read. And finally, I'll take questions, but I just wanted to share my email address. If you have questions about pricing or marketing that occur to you later on, please feel free to reach out and email me, and I'd be happy to take questions, over email in the future.